should do a bit of stretching. So everyone stand up. I want to get you guys blood moving. Everyone stand up, follow me. I want you to lift your hands in the air, stretch like you're touching the stars, and breathe in. And then forcefully push it out and push down with your hands. Again up. Stretch, touch the sky. Up again. I want you to do this now. I want you to give yourself a slap and pat on the back. Just like a tree. Swing your arms and hit your shoulders. Right? Get the back moving and just let it go like a tree in the wind. Right? Get all that movement, vitality. Now I want you to slap yourself. Starting with the left. Belly, arms, back of the neck, and then head. Feel better? It's very simple. So yes, I was a monk. I was actually a monk 14 years. So I have a similar background to Will Tuttle. Similar story. I became a monk at the age of 19. Imagine. And for 14 years I practiced celibacy, slept on the floor. I never used a pillow. I slept in a sleeping bag. Cold showers every morning, getting up at 3:30. Meditation for 2 hours every day. Working all day. And then again, more meditation at night time and going to bed around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Regulated meals. Breakfast was at 8:30. Lunch was at 12:30. Dinner was at 6 o'clock. Nothing in between. Very regulated, like the Marines. So I did that, and it's very strange for someone that young to do that, right? And I question that now, but I'm actually very proud that I did that because it was a great austerity and it helped, I feel that it built my character because now that experience really helps me to see the world in a much different way than other youths who didn't follow that path. And what that different way is that I tend to see, whether I try or not, I tend to see a spiritual connection to pretty much everything that I come across. You can't help it, it's like it's a heavy conditioning. And this is a real beautiful thing when you take the time to meditate, to disconnect from all the electronic pollution and so on, and go deep within. All right? Find out what our real essence is. It's very, very important because this body really just is a vehicle. And in the yoga tradition, the body is considered to be a temple. Right? And when people practice yoga, and how many people practice yoga here? How many? Pretty much everyone. Who's tried yoga at least? Right? You all know a little bit about it, right? But did you know that yoga actually is a ladder? There's actually a process of evolution in yoga. The word yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, and yuj means to connect. So technically when we talk about yoga, it's the art of connection, or uniting mind, body and soul. And taking it a step further, the ultimate goal of yoga is to connect with God, however you understand God to be. All right? So it's actually a path. So the physical side of yoga, which most people are familiar with, is really just the beginning stage. Did you know that? That's just stage one, where you honor your body like a temple, you respect your body, you don't pollute it with nasty things, you only eat pure things, right? You honor your body like a temple that it is. And you learn to control the senses, and through controlling the senses you control the mind, and then you meditate, and gradually get to a point where you start to get a hint of who we really are, our higher potential, our spiritual potential. That's the purpose of yoga, okay? So the charity I direct, I got involved when I became a monk. I was one of the early volunteers. And my first service in the temple was to prepare meals for the hungry. So I learned how to cook. Before that, I really didn't have much experience. You can imagine a teenager, I mean, I didn't really know much. I knew how to bake a cake from the packet. That was about it. So I went in the kitchen and I learned from very expert chefs who taught me how to cook in bulk, and got to the point where I've actually personally cooked for 10,000 people. Imagine planning a meal for 10,000 people. I've done that. I know how to do it. It's a very unique skill. And that takes practice, a little bit of wisdom, but a lot of practice. So I was involved in the early days of the charity's work. And Food for Life is actually based on a very ancient spiritual culture coming from India. Okay? And it's a spiritual culture whereby everyone is honored as spiritual equals. So there's a Sanskrit statement in the Bhagavad Gita. It says that a wise person sees with equal vision. Someone who has real knowledge, like a real wise person, they see equality. They see no difference between the dog, the man, the dog eater, the cow, the elephant. They see them all, their spiritual potential is equal, even though physically they look different. All right? So this is real wisdom. So this Samadarshana, equal vision, is a foundation of this ancient spiritual hospitality culture coming from India. It was such that back in the day, if someone came to your door at say 11 o'clock at night, hello, namaste, right? Knocked on the door, you would actually welcome them, sit them down, give them a glass of water and feed them. You would treat them like God. It's called Atithi Narayan. Narayan is one of the names of God. God has many names. And Atithi means unscheduled. So that person that comes to your house unscheduled, unannounced, you treat them like God. What to speak of your actual guest? That's the culture. And that's built on this idea of spiritual equality. No discrimination. And I believe that really is the key to solving all the problems in the world. For example, world hunger. Obviously, as Bob was saying, we're actually the world's largest food relief. Not just the world's largest vegan food relief, the world's largest food relief. We distribute more meals than the United Nations. The United Nations World Food Programme distributes about 90 to 100 million meals every year, packaged meals. Of course, they distribute rice and flour and so on in bulk, but I'm talking about prepared, hot, freshly cooked meals delivered directly to the recipient. We do 90 to 100 million meals every 3 months. Our volunteers are doing 3 to 4 to 5 times more than in the United Nations. It's quite amazing. I'm mind-boggled when I see it, and it keeps getting bigger. So the program actually started in India, and it's expanded over the last 40 years to the point where now we have very sophisticated kitchens in India. One kitchen alone, I was telling my friend from Food Not Bombs, we have this kitchen in Bombay. It's 1,200 square feet. So of the 1,200 square feet, one quarter is used for cleaning the pots. 1/4 is used for preparing the vegetables, cutting them. One other quarter is used for storing the grains. And only 1/4 of the entire kitchen is used for cooking. 300 square feet. And that one kitchen does 65,000 meals a day. It's quite amazing. It's efficiency beyond belief. And I'm going to show you a video so you'll see it. I'm not just speaking. How are we doing for time? We're okay?
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay. So the program actually started based on this idea of genuinely caring for other people, regardless of their race, species, religion, doesn't matter. Because we're all brothers and sisters when we get down to it. You tear away the skin, we're all the same. Really. Essentially, we're all the same. Now, I wrote a book called Food Yoga, where I talk about this. And Food Yoga is like the philosophy behind the charity work. And it's basically my humble attempt to try to teach people the importance of food on the spiritual path and your evolution of consciousness. It's super important. My spiritual teacher said spiritual life begins with the tongue. Think about that. It actually starts with the tongue. Now, as a monk, we had to learn how to control those senses, right? I mean, celibacy is not easy for a 19-year-old. But I was a strict celibate for 14 years. And the way I did that is to control the tongue. You learn to eat regulated. You learn to eat certain foods and avoid other foods, because things like onions and garlic and chili, they agitate the senses, they agitate the mind. Not good if you want to be celibate. All right? So we had a regulated life, and that helped us to control the tongue. And when you control the tongue, you can control the other senses. So the tongue has two functions, tasting and vibrating, right? Vibrating, speaking, and what you taste. So you learn how to control those two functions. What you speak will have a very powerful impact on your consciousness as much as what you eat. All right? And we all know this. We've heard it with the law of attraction and all these things, affirmations and such, right? They do have an effect on our consciousness, the way we feel, the way we perceive the world. And it's the same with food, and you know this. When you eat certain foods, you feel your consciousness goes for a dive. And when you eat other foods, you feel uplifted and light and bright and sharp. Right? Food has that power. So spiritual life, spiritual evolution actually begins with the tongue. And this is a core, a fundamental objective of Food for Life is teaching this principle through action. All right? So we distribute, our actual objective is to create peace and prosperity in the world through the liberal distribution of pure food prepared with loving intention. That's our mission statement. It's not about solving world hunger, because we believe that if you actually establish equality through the action of giving food without condition, you're teaching people by action this essential truth. And that has much more power than all the lectures in the world. I can sit here and I can throw quotes at you and statistics from this organisation, that organisation, and you'll probably just forget about it the next day. But if I give you a big plate of, chocolate vegan cake with ice cream, you'll always remember me. Right? Isn't it? So food has the power to unite, has the power to communicate all languages. And it's that truth that we focus on at Food for Life Global. We distribute food liberally, unconditionally, with the objective of creating equality among all beings. Now you imagine if people really, genuinely had this sense of equality in their heart. I mean, absolutely zero racism, speciesism. We saw each other as brothers and sisters. Imagine what a different world it would be. Would world hunger exist? It would disappear overnight. You see, so what we're doing is addressing the root cause of world hunger. Now, the United Nations has spent billions of dollars in conferences trying to solve world hunger. And they come up with all these new policies and throw all this money at it, and it just never changes. But they actually, at one point, they actually got close to understanding the reason. There was, in 1996 in Rome, there was a conference, and the theme of the conference was hunger in a world of plenty. Why is it? The world, you know this, the world has so much capacity to produce food, but there's still hungry people. And the reason is inequitable distribution. Right? That's their conclusion. But why is there inequitable distribution? What's the cause of that? It's because of inequality, because we discriminate. If we really understood equality, there's no question of inequitable distribution. We'd make sure, you're hungry, please, take half of my plate. You're my brother, you're my sister. So with what we're doing at Food for Life is not simply just distributing food and trying to solve world hunger. We're trying to address the real root cause of pretty much every problem in the world today through this beautiful action of just sharing food. It's non-religious, it's non-sectarian, it's universal, it's a truth that every culture can relate to, isn't it? But we make sure that the food is pure, it's vegan, it's prepared with love. None of our cooks, and this is something very interesting, I give workshops. I do cooking workshops and also raw food workshops. And I teach what's called intuitive cooking. Intuitive cooking is when you take out your senses from the equation. So when I'm preparing the meals, I actually don't taste anything. You imagine telling the chefs here at the Marriott that you have to prepare a meal for 300 people and you can't taste anything while you're preparing it? They go crazy. But that's exactly what we do. It's intuitive cooking. And you know this works because you see people that have lost a sense, like eyesight or hearing, their other senses become sharper. So when you actually take out your senses from the equation, your intuition becomes sharper. I know how much salt I need to put in. I know how much sugar. I know how much, just by looking at it. This is intuitive cooking. And that sort of food, when you prepare it that way, it is the most pure. It's totally selfless, unconditional. You're thinking only of that person's pleasure. So with that, I want to show you some, we got like 10 minutes left?
You've got about 7 minutes left.
Perfect. So I'll steal 2 minutes. I'm going to talk over the top of this so there's no sound, and I'll tell you what's going on. So uniting the world through pure food is actually our tagline. This is one of our programs in India, and it's a vegetarian or vegan rice, dal and vegetables. Freshly cooked that morning, like maybe 1 hour ago. And we feed, just in India alone, over 1 million kids every single day. And of course, khichdi in Ayurveda is Vaiji here. Ayurveda khichdi is considered the most sattvic of all foods because it has everything: proteins, carbohydrates, it's everything. It's a complete meal. This is one of our kitchens in Delhi. We have these pressure cookers. Look at the size of that. You could probably have 8 adults in there and have a spa bath. Right? This is serious business. That's a 700-litre pot, right? And we have in this kitchen alone, I think there's 7 of them or 9. I'm not sure. So it's actually we cook it with pressure, with steam, and the steam comes up underneath. You see the holes there? It comes through the bottom of the pot. And by doing that, it's super clean and super efficient. Now, once the food is cooked, it's put into stainless steel containers. We add some fresh coriander leaves, cilantro, right? It's sealed. And then we put a plastic tie on the seal to make sure it's totally pure, no one can contaminate it. Right? So and also the spoons are put in plastic bags. It's super clean. We've actually, some of our kitchens have been awarded 5 levels of certification as 5-star hotels because of the way we operate. It's like a super high efficiency and cleanliness. These are the trucks. So the food is loaded onto the trucks. One truck alone maybe takes 50 to 60 containers. Now every container can feed 30 children. Right? It's a lunch for 1 kid, 30 kids. And so if there's 3,000 children at the school, we'll give them 100 containers. So here I am, one of the trucks is loaded, and we go to one of the local schools. And we have hundreds of trucks like this. They're going out all over India every single day. Now this is primarily sponsored by the Indian government, who actually initiated this program at the last millennium, actually, like the late 90s. And but we became the biggest participant in this program, actually helping the government with this initiative. It's called the Midday Meal Program. And the objective was to bring kids to school, to make sure kids come to school and get educated. So because of this program, the academic performance, the levels of attendance have just gone through the roof. It's a total different story. This is clean up time. Okay, how about cleaning up by hand 1,500 pots, 1,500 containers every afternoon? These girls do it by hand, no washing machines. So after the containers have been collected from the school, they hand wash them. This is another program in Fiji. We have a variety of programs in 50 countries. We're not just in India. In 50 countries, all over Europe, all over Asia. This is one of our programs in Fiji. It's much simpler than the ones in India. And here the kids are getting a vegetable curry, soy, like soy meat, soy chunks, and rice, fresh rice. And they love it. They're very happy. They really appreciate it. That's in Fiji. And we have many programs in Australia, in Thailand, in the Philippines, and as I said, all over Europe. This is one of our better programs in Hungary, Budapest. And every day, this program feeds 1,500 people, homeless people, every day on the streets of Budapest. That's a huge line of people. And then they'll wait for an hour, 1.5 hours, no problem. They love the food. And they get, in this particular instance, they get a dal, like a vegetable dal, and that's beets and tomatoes with the red, and they get fresh bread. So it's fresh bread and dal, and basically a vegetable soup. And they love it. Not a big pot, different style. And we cook according to local taste. So depending on what people like to eat, as long as it's vegan, that's what we cook. Like one time there was a flood in Poland, and we responded to the floods in Poland by making vegan sandwiches and soup. Because that's what they could relate to. So it's not that, even though it started in India, we don't just cook Indian food. We cook according to local taste, and it's always local produce as well. We don't buy from overseas, we always support the local producers. So this is the Budapest program delivering. Now this is seeing some food for life around the world, and you get to see the capacity. This is one of our schools in India, Sandapani Muni School. This school is absolutely amazing. 1,500 girls from the slums come to the school, they get 3 meals a day, full education, full medical care. We give them a whole new life. We take them right through high school. These are the poorest of the poorest kids in India. Argentina, after the recent floods in Argentina, we responded. This is, again, the Fiji program. Very happy kids. It's a real smile, enjoying the food. Look at this one. This is in Poland. Woodstock is one of the big rock festivals. So we actually provide food at the rock festivals and give people an experience of vegan food. Because one way to give up the lower taste is to experience the higher taste. So if you give people the experience of vegan food, it's going to be more easy for them to actually give up the eating meat. This is in Sri Lanka after the tsunami in 2004. I went there personally and I coordinated 50 volunteers to help us, feed people all over the island. This is in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, one of the poorest places I've ever been to. I couldn't believe the poverty in Port-au-Prince, amazing. People are really, really struggling in that. This is a school, we provide meals. Food for Life actually built a kitchen in the school, so we provide meals there. This is after Hurricane Katrina. We were the only food. This is my beautiful wife, Juliana, who's somewhere around here. She's serving in Colombia. This is in Ecuador, actually. And this is Colombia. So this is, again, a vegetable curry with fresh rice. And often we use soy in some of these places because they like to eat chunky things like that. This is the tsunami relief. This is a big program. I was there also. I went there 2 weeks after the tsunami and organised a team to distribute food. This is one of our programs in New Zealand where we also provide food for schools. And today they're making sweet and sour curry. So there's pineapples and fresh paprika with tofu. This is in Riga, one of our oldest programs. A very simple program, but it's been going for 20 years. People line up, hundreds of people every day. They get bread and soup. So sometimes this is Philippines, most recently, last year, I believe, the hurricane typhoon hit. And we were providing pasta and noodles, something that they could relate to, but it was always vegan. This is one of our big programs in India, Santo Domingo. So across the board, every nation pretty much has experienced a Food for Life meal. This is in England. Nelson Mandela was a big supporter of Food for Life, and he actually understood the real essence of Food for Life. This is in Australia, in Russia, right? Black and white photo to go with it, Kazakhstan, you name it, even in China. I just don't have enough room to put all the pictures in there. Hong Kong. This is in India. We have some very basic programs in India in the villages. This is me after the Sri Lanka food relief, the Sri Lanka tsunami. Thank you very much. If you want to learn more, go to our website at ffl.org, foodforlife.org, and you can volunteer. We have volunteer programs all over the world. If you're traveling and say, hey Paul, I'm going to Philippines or India, I'd love to help out, I'll hook you up. And you can also donate and support Vegan Food Relief. And every dollar that you donate is only used for Vegan Food Relief.